Welcome to Old Money Treasures. Today, we're taking a closer look at some fascinating U.S. state quarters that could be worth more than their face value. From the 2005 D Kansas quarter and 2008 D Arizona quarter to the 2008 P Arizona quarter, these coins may look ordinary, but condition, mint marks, rare varieties, and genuine mint errors can make a huge difference in value. So stay with us, because one of these quarters could be hiding an unexpected surprise. The next up top one, if you have a 2008 P Arizona State quarter sitting in your pocket change, an old collection, a coin jar, or a box of quarters, don't spend it until you take a closer look. At first glance, this coin may appear to be an ordinary Washington quarter worth just 25 cents, but some examples can be much more interesting to collectors when they have exceptional condition, a very high certified grade, or a genuine mint error. Today, we're taking a close look at the 2008 P Arizona State quarter, including its history, design, P mint mark, good condition value, high-grade examples, possible errors, and what this coin can realistically be worth in today's collector and auction market. The 2008 Arizona quarter was one of the final releases in the famous United States 50 state quarters program. Arizona was the 48th state represented in the original series, and the reverse design is instantly recognizable because it combines the Grand Canyon with a saguaro cactus. On the obverse is the familiar portrait of George Washington. If your coin has a small P mint mark, that identifies the Philadelphia Mint as the place where the quarter was struck. The 2008 P Arizona quarter had a large production run of approximately 244.6 million coins. PCGS lists the standard specifications at 24.3 millimeters in diameter, 5.67 grams in weight, a reeded edge, and a copper-nickel composition over a copper core. That large mintage is important because it tells us that the ordinary 2008 P Arizona quarter is not rare simply because it has a P mint mark. Millions were produced, and many examples entered circulation. So if your coin is in good circulated condition, with visible wear, scratches, contact marks, or other signs of everyday use, you should have realistic expectations. A normal circulated 2008 P Arizona quarter is generally worth around its face value, with only a modest premium possible depending on its exact condition. Current market references put ordinary circulated examples around 25 cents to about $1, while much better preserved examples can bring more. But this is where the story becomes much more interesting. The same date and mint mark can represent coins with dramatically different market values. Imagine that you have two 2008 P Arizona quarters. One has been used for years. It has passed through cash registers, vending machines, pockets, and coin jars. Washington's portrait has visible wear, the fields contain contact marks, and the original mint luster has mostly disappeared. The second coin was carefully preserved after leaving the Philadelphia Mint. It has strong original luster, sharp details, very few contact marks, and no obvious evidence of circulation. Both coins say 2008, both have the P mint mark. Both show Arizona's Grand Canyon and saguaro cactus, but collectors can value those two coins very differently. The reason is condition. Professional grading services use numerical grades to describe the preservation of a coin. Circulated coins can fall into grades such as good, fine, very fine, extremely fine, and about uncirculated. Coins showing no circulation wear can receive mint state grades such as MS60, MS63, MS65, MS67, and MS68. The higher the grade, the more difficult it becomes to find another coin with the same level of preservation. And the 2008 P Arizona quarter is a great example of this. PCGS lists an auction record of $1,175 for a 2008 P Arizona quarter, graded MS68, sold by Heritage Auctions on January 4. 2017 Great Collections also records a 2008 P Arizona quarter, graded PCGS MS68, selling for $1,293.75, and reports that its recorded sales for this issue have ranged from $12 to $1,294 across grades 67 and 68. Those numbers are impressive for a coin with a face value of only 25 cents. But there is a very important warning. Those high prices do not mean every 2008 Arizona quarter is worth $1,000 or more. They represent exceptional, professionally graded coins. A good condition circulated quarter is a completely different situation. This distinction is extremely important when researching coin values. If you find a 2008 Arizona quarter online advertised for $500, $1,000, or several $1,000s, don't automatically assume that is what your coin is worth. First, determine exactly what kind of coin it is. Is it circulated? Is it uncirculated? Is it professionally graded? What is the grade? Does it have a recognized variety? Does it have a genuine mint error? And most importantly, has a comparable coin actually sold for that amount? An asking price is not the same thing as an auction result. Documented completed sales are much more useful. For example, PCGS has a documented $1,175 auction record for an MS68 2008 Arizona quarter, while Great Collections records a $1,293.75 sale for another PCGS MS68 example. Those are actual market records for specific high-grade coins. They should not be confused with the value of a normal circulated example. Now let's talk specifically about your good condition 2008 Arizona quarter. If your coin has noticeable circulation wear, the realistic value is generally close to its face value. Current price references show circulated 2008 Arizona quarters around the 25-cent to $1 range depending on condition and source. So if your coin is worn, scratched, and clearly circulated, don't expect hundreds of dollars. But if your coin looks unusually clean, bright, and sharply detailed, then you should take a closer look. Start with George Washington. Examine the cheek, look at the jawline, check the hair and other raised details. These areas can show circulation wear. Then look at the open fields around Washington. Check for scratches. Look for contact marks. Look for stains. Look for discoloration. Look for signs that the coin has been cleaned. A coin can still look shiny while having enough marks to prevent it from receiving a very high grade. Next, turn the coin over and study the Arizona design. The Grand Canyon and saguaro cactus make this quarter easy to identify. Look closely at the cactus. Examine the canyon. Check the lettering. Look around the rim. Inspect the stars and other design elements. Then compare your coin with another normal 2008 Arizona quarter if you have one. A side-by-side comparison can make unusual features much easier to recognize. This is also where you can begin looking for possible mint errors and varieties. Modern state quarters can have a variety of mint-made errors, including die cracks, die chips, doubled features, off-center strikes, broad strikes, struck-through errors, and unusual planchet errors. But you need to be very careful. Not every unusual mark is a valuable mint error. A scratch is not automatically an error. A dent is not automatically an error. A stain is not automatically an error. A discolored area is not automatically an error. And damage that occurred after the coin left the mint is generally not considered a valuable mint error. The important question is whether the unusual feature was created during the minting process. If you believe you have discovered an error, compare it carefully with known examples. Look at the shape of the feature. Determine whether it is raised or recessed. Check whether it appears to be part of the design or damage to the coin. And if the potential value is significant, professional authentication is the safest option. There is also another important point about the Arizona quarter. Some sources and collectors discuss an extra cactus leaf or cactus-related die-break variety. Such features can attract attention, but not every apparent extra line or mark on the cactus is automatically a valuable error. Proper identification matters. If you believe you have one of these unusual varieties, compare it with trusted numismatic references before assigning a high value. And whatever you do, don't clean the coin. This is one of the most important rules in coin collecting. If your 2008 P Arizona quarter looks dirty, leave it alone. Don't polish it. Don't use chemicals. Don't scrub it. Don't scrape it. Don't try to make it shiny. Cleaning can create permanent hairlines and other damage that can reduce the coin's collector value. Original surfaces are especially important when a coin might be valuable because of its grade. Hold the coin carefully by its edges. Use good lighting. A magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe can help you examine the details without touching the main surfaces. You can also check the coin's physical specifications. A normal 2008 P Arizona quarter weighs approximately 5.67 grams and measures approximately 24.3 millimeters across. According to PCGSIF, your coin appears dramatically different in weight, thickness, diameter, or edge appearance. That can be a reason to investigate further. But a small difference on a household scale does not prove that you have a rare error. Scales have tolerances, and normal coins can show small variations. For a serious error claim, professional examination is necessary. Another important factor is the difference between a regular circulation strike and a special collector strike. The 2008 P Arizona quarter was also issued in special satin finish mint set versions. These should not automatically be confused with ordinary business strike coins. Great Collections, for example, tracks a separate 2008 P Arizona satin finish issue and reports sales of that special strike in grades 68 and 69, so when researching your quarter, make sure you know exactly which version you have. A regular circulation strike and a satin finish example can have different characteristics and different market values. For the coin we are discussing today, the main focus is the regular 2008 P Arizona State quarter. Now let's return to the good condition example. If your coin is worn and circulated, its value is usually close to face value. If it is in better circulated condition, such as very fine, extremely fine, or about uncirculated, a small premium may be possible. If it is uncirculated, the value can increase considerably depending on grade. Current market information shows that high-grade examples can be worth substantially more. And PCGS records the MS68 auction record at 1,175. Great Collections Dollars Auction Archive shows an even higher recorded sale of $1,293.75 for a PCGS MS68 example. This enormous difference between a circulated coin and an MS68 coin is one of the most interesting parts of modern coin collecting. It shows that rarity is not always about how many coins were originally produced. Sometimes it is about how many survived in extraordinary condition. More than 244 million 2008 P Arizona quarters were produced. According to PCGS, that is a huge number. But a much smaller number may survive at the very highest grades. That is why an MS68 example can be far more valuable than an ordinary circulated coin. Think about what happens to a quarter after it leaves the mint. It may be dropped. It may rub against other coins. It may be stored in bags. It may pass through counting machines. It may sit in a cash register. It may be handled hundreds of times. Every one of those events can create marks. So finding a modern quarter with exceptionally clean surfaces can be surprisingly difficult. This is why professional grading can matter. A certified MS67 or MS68 coin has a standardized grade that collectors can compare. Without certification, a seller might claim a coin is perfect or near flawless, but those descriptions don't have the same meaning as an official grade. If you believe your 2008 P Arizona quarter is an exceptional example, professional grading could be worth considering. But don't submit every quarter you find. If the coin is clearly circulated and worth around face value, grading would normally cost much more than the coin itself. Professional grading makes more sense when the coin appears to be an unusually high-grade specimen or a potentially valuable error. Another important lesson is to avoid relying on the highest price you see online. A listing for $5,000 does not prove that the coin is worth $5,000. A seller can ask any price. Actual completed sales are much stronger evidence. For the 2008 Arizona quarter, we have documented auction evidence from major sources. PCGS reports a $1,175 MS68 auction record. Great Collections reports a $1,293.75 sale for a PCGS MS68 example. PCGS also records a 2008 Arizona MS67 example that sold for $15 in a Great Collections auction in February 2013. This tells us something extremely important. Not every high-grade coin sells for the same amount. The difference between MS67 and MS68 can be enormous, and even coins with the same grade can sometimes sell for different prices depending on the auction and buyer demand. This is normal in the collectible coin market. So when you estimate the value of your own coin, don't simply choose the highest auction record. Instead, compare it with coins that match your exact date, mint mark, strike type, grade, and condition. If your coin is circulated, compare it with circulated examples. If it is uncirculated, compare it with uncirculated examples. If it is certified MS67, compare it with MS67 sales. If it is certified MS68, compare it with MS68 sales. And if you believe it has a genuine mint error, compare it with the same type of authenticated error. That gives you a much more realistic idea of what the market may pay. The Arizona quarter is also historically interesting because it came near the end of the original 50-state quarters program. The program began in 1999 and continued through 2008, with 5 state designs released each year. Great Collections notes that the program became extremely popular and introduced a new generation of collectors to U.S. coins. Millions of people collected these quarters. Some bought albums, some saved rolls, some kept complete state collections. And many people simply put interesting quarters into jars. Today, those old collections are still being opened. That means you can still find 2008 Arizona quarters in old boxes, folders, rolls, and collections. But don't assume that every state quarter is valuable. Most are common. The value comes from something special about the individual coin. For the 2008 Arizona quarter, that special characteristic might be exceptional preservation, a very high certified grade, a recognized variety, or a genuine mint error if you are searching through your change. You don't need expensive equipment to start. Good lighting is enough. Pull out the coins that have the cleanest surfaces. Separate circulated coins from uncirculated-looking coins. Check the mint marks. Then inspect the best examples under magnification. A small digital scale can help with basic screening, but don't make a major error claim based on one measurement. If something truly looks different, have it professionally examined. The most important thing is not to damage the coin while investigating it. Don't scratch it. Don't bend it. Don't polish it. Don't attempt to remove spots. Don't try to alter the surface. Preserve the coin exactly as you found it. If your 2008 Arizona quarter is in good condition, its value today is likely to remain near face value. If it is a better circulated example, it may be worth a small premium. If it is uncirculated, the value can increase. If it is certified at an exceptionally high grade, the potential can become much greater. And at the very top end, documented MS68 examples have sold for more than $1,000. That is an extraordinary difference for a 25-cent coin. But remember the key word: exceptional. Most 2008 Arizona quarters are not worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. The valuable examples are the exceptions. This is why you should never judge your quarter only by its date and mint mark. Look at the complete picture: date, mint mark, strike, condition, grade, variety, error status, certification, and actual market sales. All of these factors can influence the final value. So, if you find a 2008 Arizona quarter in your pocket change, take a few seconds to inspect it. Check the mint mark. Look carefully at Washington's portrait. Study the Grand Canyon and saguaro cactus. Inspect the lettering, look at the rim. Check the edge, look for possible die characteristics or genuine mint-made errors. If the coin is heavily circulated, it is probably an ordinary quarter. If it looks unusually clean, set it aside. If it appears nearly flawless, consider whether professional grading might be worthwhile. The next up, top 2, if you have a 1999 Georgia State quarter in your pocket change, an old coin collection, or a jar of quarters at home, don't spend it too quickly. This coin may look like an ordinary 25-cent piece, but depending on its condition, grade, and whether it has a genuine mint error, some examples have attracted serious attention from collectors. The 1999 Georgia State Quarter was part of the United States 50 State Quarters program. Georgia was one of the first 5 states honored when the program began in 1999, making this quarter an important early issue in the series. The Philadelphia Mint produced the P-Mint version, while Denver produced a separate D-Mint version. The coin features the familiar portrait of George Washington on the obverse. On the reverse is the Georgia design, including the state's outline, a peach, and the inscription Georgia 1788. The year 1788 refers to Georgia's admission to the Union as the 4th state. So, when you look at a 1999 Georgia quarter, you are looking at a coin that combines modern U.S. coinage with an important piece of American state history. But the big question is this: how much could a 1999 Georgia quarter actually be worth today? The answer depends heavily on condition. According to PCGS, the 1999 Georgia quarter had a mintage of approximately 451,188,000 pieces. It is a copper-nickel-clad quarter measuring about 24.3 millimeters and weighing approximately 5.67 grams. PCGS, that huge mintage, tells us something important right away. A normal 1999 Georgia quarter is not rare simply because it is from 1,999 millions were made. Millions entered circulation, and many examples still exist today. So if your coin is in good circulated condition, with visible wear, scratches, contact marks, and signs of everyday use, you should not expect it to automatically be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. A normal circulated example is generally worth close to its 25-cent face value, although better examples can bring a modest premium depending on condition and collector demand. But this is where coin collecting becomes fascinating. 2 1999 Georgia quarters can look almost identical to a casual observer, while having dramatically different values. Imagine one quarter that has spent years in circulation. It has passed through cash registers, vending machines, pockets, coin counters, and jars. Washington's portrait has visible wear, the surfaces have scratches, and the original mint luster has disappeared. Now imagine another 1999 Georgia quarter that was carefully preserved after leaving the Philadelphia Mint. It has brilliant original luster, sharp details, clean fields, and very few contact marks. Both coins have the same date. Both have the P Mint mark. Both have the same Georgia design. But collectors may value them very differently. The reason is grade. Professional coin grading services evaluate coins according to their condition. Circulated coins can receive grades such as good, fine, very fine, extremely fine, and about uncirculated. Coins that show no circulation wear can receive mint state grades such as MS60, MS63, MS65, MS66, MS67, and MS68. As the grade becomes higher, the number of coins that qualify can become much smaller. And that is where the 1999 Georgia quarter becomes particularly interesting. PCGS currently lists an auction record of $4,200 for a 1999 Georgia quarter graded MS65. That coin sold through Heritage Auctions on August 28, 2022. PCGS +1, that is an incredible result for a quarter with a face value of only 25 cents. But there is an extremely important detail that every coin collector needs to understand. That $4,200 result does not mean an ordinary 1999 P Georgia quarter is worth $4,200. It was a particular coin with a particular certification and auction history. And there is an even more interesting part to that record. The PCGS auction listing identifies the $4,200 coin as an MS-65 example with a special description involving a double strike and deep die cap. PCGS, that means this extraordinary result should not be used as the normal value for an ordinary MS-65 Georgia quarter. This is exactly why you need to look beyond the headline price. A rare mint error can completely change the value of a coin. A normal circulated coin is one thing. A normal uncirculated coin is another. A high-grade certified coin is another. And a high-grade coin with an important mint error can be something entirely different. For example, PCGS records an ordinary 1999 P Georgia MS-67 sale at $2,875 from a 2008 Goldberg auctioneer's sale. PCGS, but other certified examples have sold for much less. PCGS records an NGC MS-66 1999 P Georgia quarter selling for $15 at Great Collections in 2012. And another NGC MS-66 example also sold for $15. PCGS plus one. There is also a recorded ANACS MS-65 example that sold for only $6 at Great Collections in 2012. PCGS. These results demonstrate one of the most important lessons in coin collecting. There is no single price that applies to every coin of the same date and mint mark. Condition matters. Certification matters. The exact variety matters. The presence of an error matters. And the individual auction matters. So if you have a good condition 1999 P Georgia quarter, don't immediately compare it with the $4,200 auction record. That would be like comparing an ordinary used car with a rare collectible automobile simply because they have the same model name. Your first job is to determine what condition your coin is actually in. Take the coin and examine George Washington's portrait. Look closely at the cheek and jaw. Check the hair. Examine the raised areas of the portrait. If those areas are smooth from circulation, the coin has experienced wear. Then look at the fields surrounding Washington. Are there scratches? Are there contact marks? Are there dents? Is there discoloration? Does the coin have its original shine? Has somebody cleaned it? These details can make a significant difference. Now turn the coin over. The Georgia reverse is especially easy to recognize. Look for the peach. Look at the state outline. Check the lettering. Look at the stars. Examine the date and the other inscriptions. And pay attention to the overall sharpness of the design. If the coin is heavily worn, it is probably an ordinary circulated quarter. But if it looks unusually sharp and bright, set it aside for further examination. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is assuming that a shiny coin is automatically valuable. That's not true. A coin can be shiny because it has been cleaned. A coin can be bright because of environmental exposure. And a coin can have some luster while still having many contact marks. Professional graders examine the entire coin before assigning a grade. So if you think your 1999 P Georgia quarter is valuable because it looks shiny, don't clean it or polish it. In fact, never clean a potentially valuable coin. Do not use metal polish. Do not use abrasive materials. Do not scrub the surface. Do not use harsh chemicals. Cleaning can create scratches and unnatural surfaces that may reduce collector value. If you find a potentially valuable coin, preserve it exactly as you found it. Handle it by the edges. Keep it in a suitable holder. And if necessary, have it professionally evaluated. Now let's talk about mint errors. The 1999 P Georgia quarter can be especially interesting when an authentic mint error is involved. Possible errors in modern quarters can include off-center strikes, doubled features, die cracks, die chips, struck-through errors, broad strikes, and other mint-made abnormalities. But you need to be careful because post-mint damage is extremely common. A scratch is not automatically a mint error. A dent is not automatically a mint error. A flattened area is not automatically a mint error, and discoloration is not automatically an error. The question is whether the unusual feature was created at the U.S. Mint during the production process. This is why professional attribution is so important. If you think your coin has a major error, compare it with known examples and consider submitting it to a recognized grading and authentication service. A genuine major mint error can make a common coin much more collectible. The $4,200 auction example is an excellent reminder of this. PCGS identifies that particular 1999p Georgia quarter as a double-struck, deep die-cap example. PCGS that is very different from finding an ordinary circulated quarter with a scratch. The error occurred during the minting process and was significant enough to attract major collector interest. Now let's talk about the phrase, good condition. In everyday language, people often use good condition to mean that a coin looks okay. But in professional coin grading, good is actually a specific circulated grade. A coin graded good has significant wear, and many of the original details are no longer sharp. So, if you say your 1999p Georgia quarter is in good condition, it is important to understand that this does not place the coin anywhere near the high mint state auction records. A heavily circulated coin should generally be valued very differently from an MS-65, MS-67, or MS-68 coin. This distinction can prevent a lot of confusion when researching coin prices online. If your coin is circulated, think in terms of face value or a small premium. If it is uncirculated, investigate further. If it appears nearly flawless, consider professional grading. And if it has a strange mint-made feature, investigate whether it could be an authentic error. Another important factor is the P mint mark. The small p indicates Philadelphia. You can find it on the obverse side of the quarter, near Washington. If your coin has a D instead, you have the Denver version, which is a separate issue. PCGS lists a separate auction record for the 1999 D Georgia quarter, demonstrating that the P and D versions should not be treated as identical coins. PCGSSO, when making a value estimate, always identify the mint mark correctly. The date alone is not enough. The 1999 Georgia quarter was one of the first state quarters, and that makes it popular with collectors building complete state quarter sets. But popularity does not automatically mean rarity. The huge production numbers mean that normal examples are still relatively common. The challenge is finding exceptional examples. That is why high-grade coins can command premiums. PCGS's data shows a large estimated survival population for the issue, while the very highest grades represent a much smaller segment of the market. PCGS, this creates an interesting situation. You may have hundreds of millions of coins originally produced, but only a small number may be desirable at the very top grades. And collectors who want the finest possible examples for their sets can compete strongly for those coins. This is how a modern quarter can occasionally sell for hundreds or thousands of dollars. It is not because every quarter is rare. It is because the exceptional individual coin is rare. Now, if you are searching through your pocket change, what should you look for? Start with the date. Make sure it says 1999, then look for the P mint mark. Next, inspect the overall condition. Separate heavily worn examples from coins that look bright and uncirculated. Then examine the reverse. Look closely at the peach and surrounding design. Check the lettering. Look for unusual doubling. Look for die cracks. Look for chips. Look for off-center characteristics. And look carefully at the edge. If something looks unusual, don't immediately assume it is valuable. Compare it with a normal 1999p Georgia quarter. If the feature is still unusual, research it carefully. And if the potential value is high, seek professional authentication. You should also weigh the coin if you suspect a planchet error. A normal 1999p Georgia quarter weighs approximately 5.67 grams. PCGS, but don't treat a tiny weight difference as proof of a rare error. Household scales are not always precise enough, and normal manufacturing tolerances exist. A significant difference can be a reason for further investigation, but professional examination is necessary before declaring a rare mint error. Same applies to the diameter and edge. A normal quarter is approximately 24.3 millimeters in diameter and has a reeded edge. PCGs. If something appears dramatically different, investigate it, but don't damage the coin while doing so. Another major lesson is that auction prices can change over time. The $4,200 result is a historical auction record, not a guarantee of today's selling price. Market conditions change, collectors change, population reports change. Auction participation changes, and the exact quality of the coin can make a major difference. Therefore, when you are preparing to sell a valuable coin, look for recent comparable auction results whenever possible. Don't simply use the highest historical number. The same principle applies to online listings. A seller might list a 1999 Georgia quarter for $500, $1,000, or even $10,000. That dollars does not prove the coin is worth that amount. An actual completed auction sale is much stronger evidence. This is why professional auction archives and grading service records are so useful. For the 1999 Georgia quarter, PCGs documents multiple very different results, including $6 for an ANACS MS65 example, $15 for NGC MS66 examples, $2,875 for an MS67 example, and the extraordinary $4,200 result for the special MS65 error example. PCGs plus 3. That enormous range tells us everything we need to know. There is no single 1999 Georgia quarter value. There is only the value of a specific coin with a specific condition and specific characteristics. If your quarter is circulated, it is probably worth around face value. If it is lightly circulated and attractive, it may have a modest premium. If it is uncirculated, it may be worth several dollars or more depending on grade. If it reaches a high certified grade, the value can increase dramatically. And if it has a significant, authenticated mint error, it can potentially reach much higher prices. But the highest numbers belong to exceptional coins. That is why you should not promise yourself a fortune just because you found a 1999 Georgia quarter. Instead, use the coin as a starting point for investigation. Maybe you have an ordinary quarter. Maybe you have a nice uncirculated example. Maybe you have a high-grade coin. Or maybe, just maybe, you have something unusual. That's the excitement of searching. If you find a coin that appears valuable, preserve it. Do not clean it. Do not polish it. Do not scratch it. Do not try to improve its appearance. Keep the original surfaces intact. If necessary, place it in a proper holder. Then compare it with documented examples. If it appears to be an exceptional coin, professional grading can provide an official condition assessment. And if you believe it is a major mint error, professional authentication can establish whether the unusual feature is actually mint-made. The 1999 Georgia State Quarter is also an excellent reminder of how quickly the state quarters program became popular. These coins were designed to encourage Americans to collect circulating quarters and learn about the states. Georgia's design celebrates the state's identity with the peach, state outline, and the important year 1788 for collectors completing a 50-state quarter set. The Georgia issue is an essential piece. And because it was released during the first year of the program, it has an added historical appeal. But again, historical importance does not automatically make every example rare. The condition and individual characteristics still matter. So if you have a 1999 Georgia quarter in good condition, don't throw it away and don't expect thousands of dollars. Take a realistic approach. Start around face value for an ordinary circulated example. Look for a premium if the coin is unusually well preserved. And investigate further if it is uncirculated, extremely high grade, or appears to have a genuine mint error. Remember the documented market evidence. PCGs records an overall auction record of $4,200 for the 1999 Georgia issue. But that record belongs to an exceptional coin, identified as a double-struck deep die-cap example. PCGS plus one other examples have sold for much less, including certified MS-65 and MS-66 coins in the single-digit and low double-digit range, while a historical MS-67 sale reached $2,875. PCGS plus 2. The next up top 3 if you have a 2007 Wyoming state quarter in your pocket change, an old collection, or a jar of coins at home, take a close look before spending it. At first glance, this coin may appear to be an ordinary 25-cent piece, but certain examples can be much more interesting to collectors when they have exceptional preservation, a very high certified grade, or a genuine mint error. The 2007 Wyoming state quarter was part of the United States 50 state quarters program. Wyoming was one of the states represented during the 2007 releases, and the quarter carries a design that is strongly connected with Wyoming's history and identity. The obverse features the familiar portrait of George Washington, while the reverse shows a bucking horse and rider, one of the most recognizable symbols associated with Wyoming. The reverse also includes the inscriptions Wyoming, 1890, E pluribus unum, and United States of America. The year 1890 is especially important because it represents the year Wyoming became the 44th state of the United States. If your coin has a small P mint mark, that identifies Philadelphia as the mint where the quarter was produced. According to PCGS, approximately 243.6 million regular strike 2007 Wyoming quarters were produced at Philadelphia. The coin has a diameter of approximately 24.3 millimeters, weighs about 5.67 grams, and has a reeded edge. PCGS that large mintage is one of the first things to understand about this coin. A 2007 Wyoming quarter is not automatically rare just because it has a P mint mark. Hundreds of millions were produced, and many examples entered circulation. So if you have a normal 2007 Wyoming quarter in good circulated condition, with visible wear, scratches, contact marks, and other signs of everyday use, you should not expect it to automatically be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. The real story begins when we start looking at condition. Imagine you have two 2007 Wyoming quarters. The first coin has been circulating for years. It has passed through cash registers, vending machines, pockets, coin counters, and jars. Washington's portrait has wear, the surfaces have contact marks, and the original mint luster is mostly gone. The second coin was carefully preserved after leaving the Philadelphia Mint. It has strong original luster, sharp design details, clean fields, and very few marks. Both coins are dated 2007. Both have the P mint mark. Both have the Wyoming bucking horse design. But collectors can value them very differently. The difference is condition and grade. Professional grading services use a numerical scale to describe a coin's preservation. Circulated examples can receive grades such as good, fine, very fine, extremely fine, and about uncirculated. Coins without circulation wear can receive mint state grades such as MS-60, MS-63, MS-65, MS-66, MS-67, and MS-68. As the grade becomes higher, the number of coins that qualify can become much smaller. This is especially important with the 2007 Wyoming quarter. PCGS currently lists an auction record of $2,115 for a 2007 Wyoming quarter graded MS-68. That coin sold at Heritage Auctions on January 4, 2017. PCGS, that is an incredible amount for a coin with a face value of only 25 cents. But don't make the mistake of thinking that every 2007 Wyoming quarter is worth $2,115. That dollar's price belongs to a specific, exceptionally high-grade MS-68 coin. A good condition circulated quarter is completely different. NGC's current price information indicates that circulated 2007 Wyoming state quarters are generally around 30 to 40 cents, while its listed values rise considerably for higher grades. NGCSO, if your coin is worn and circulated, the realistic value is usually close to face value. But if your coin is extremely well preserved, the story can change dramatically. PCGS's current price guide shows a substantial premium for high-grade 2007 P Wyoming examples, with the highest levels reaching into the thousands of dollars. PCGS plus one. This is why condition is so important. When examining your 2007 P Wyoming quarter, start with George Washington on the obverse. Look closely at his cheek. Examine the jawline, check the hair, look at the highest points of the portrait. If these areas are smooth or worn, the coin has experienced circulation. Then inspect the open fields around Washington. Look for scratches, look for contact marks, look for dents, look for discoloration, look for signs of cleaning. A coin can appear shiny and still have significant surface damage. Now turn the coin over. The Wyoming reverse is one of the most recognizable designs in the entire State Quarters series. The bucking horse and rider are the main attraction. Look closely at the horse, examine the rider, study the lettering, look at the rim. Check the date 1890, inspect the fields surrounding the design. Then compare your coin with another normal 2007 P Wyoming quarter if you have one. A side-by-side comparison can make unusual characteristics much easier to identify. You should also pay attention to the possibility of die varieties. PCGS identifies two Cherry-Picker's Guide varieties for the 2007 P Wyoming quarter, both involving double die reverse characteristics. PCGS specifically notes that the doubling can be seen on the saddle horn, with FS801 described as the more dramatic variety. PCGS. This is an important detail for collectors. A coin with a genuine recognized double die variety can be much more interesting than an ordinary quarter. However, don't assume that every line, shadow, or doubling-looking feature is valuable. Machine doubling and postment damage can sometimes be mistaken for a true double die. A genuine variety needs to be identified correctly. If you think you have a double die Wyoming quarter, compare the feature with documented examples and consider professional attribution if the potential value is significant. The same warning applies to other possible mint errors. Modern State Quarters can have errors such as off-center strikes, die cracks, die chips, struck-through errors, broad strikes, and unusual planchet problems. But a scratch is not automatically an error. A dent is not automatically an error. A flattened area is not automatically an error, and discoloration is not automatically an error. The key question is whether the feature was created during the minting process. If the unusual feature occurred after the coin left the mint, it is generally considered damage rather than a valuable mint error. This is why authentication matters. If you believe your 2007 P Wyoming quarter has a major error or important variety, preserve the coin and have it examined by a qualified professional before making a high-value claim. And whatever you do, do not clean the coin. This is one of the most important rules in coin collecting. Never polish a potentially valuable quarter. Don't scrub it. Don't use chemicals. Don't use metal polish. Don't scrape the surface. Don't try to remove stains. Cleaning can leave permanent scratches and unnatural surfaces that can reduce collector appeal and potentially damage the value. If you find an interesting coin, keep it exactly as you found it. Hold it by the edges. Use good lighting. Use magnification if necessary. And store it in an appropriate coin holder. You can also check the basic physical specifications. A normal 2007 P Wyoming quarter weighs approximately 5.67 grams and measures about 24.3 millimeters in diameter. It has a reeded edge. PCGS. If your coin has a dramatically different weight or physical appearance, that can be a reason to investigate. But don't assume a small weight difference proves that the coin is rare. Household scales can be inaccurate, and normal manufacturing tolerances exist. A significant difference should be treated as a reason for further examination rather than automatic proof of an error. Another important point is the difference between regular business strikes and special satin finish coins. The U.S. Mint also produced a limited number of 2007 Wyoming quarters with satin finish for the annual uncirculated coin set. PCGS lists approximately 895,628 of these satin finish examples. PCGS These special coins have a different appearance and should not automatically be compared with ordinary circulation strikes. If you're researching your coin's value, make sure you know exactly which version you have. For today's discussion, the main focus is the regular 2007 Wyoming quarter. Now let's return to the phrase, good condition. When people say a coin is in good condition, they often mean that it looks reasonably nice. But professional numismatics uses specific grading terminology. A coin actually graded good is a circulated coin with substantial wear. That is very different from a mint state coin. So if your 2007 Wyoming quarter is simply in good circulated condition, don't compare it with the $2,115 MS-68 auction record. That would give you an unrealistic valuation. Instead, compare your coin with other circulated examples. NGC's current information places circulated examples around 30 to 40 cents. NGC, that is much closer to what you should expect from an ordinary circulated coin. But if your coin is uncirculated, take a closer look. PCGS explains that raw uncirculated examples command a small premium, while significant value begins at high certification levels. It also notes that the issue becomes conditionally scarce around MS-67 and higher. PCGS This is one of the most interesting things about modern coin collecting. A coin can have a huge original mintage but still become difficult to find in extraordinary condition. Why? Because modern coins experience a lot of handling. They are produced in large quantities, they are transported in bulk, they rub against other coins, they pass through machines, they are stored in bags and rolls, and eventually many enter circulation. Every one of these processes can create marks. So even though millions of 2007 Wyoming quarters were made, finding one with the surfaces and strike quality necessary for an extremely high grade can be difficult. That's why collectors can compete strongly for the finest examples. This is also why professional certification can make a major difference. A seller might describe a coin as perfect or almost perfect. But those descriptions don't have the same standardized meaning as an official MS-67 or MS-68 grade. If you believe your quarter is exceptional, professional grading can give collectors a more reliable assessment. But don't submit every quarter you find. If your coin is heavily circulated and worth around face value, the cost of grading could be much higher than the coin's value. Grading becomes more reasonable when the coin appears to be exceptionally well preserved, has a recognized variety, or has a potentially valuable mint error. Another major mistake beginners make is focusing on online asking prices. You may find a 2007 Wyoming quarter listed for hundreds or thousands of dollars. That does not mean buyers are actually paying those prices. An asking price is simply what someone wants. A completed auction sale is much stronger evidence. For the 2007 Wyoming quarter, we have a documented $2,115 auction result for an MS-68 example. PCGS's current price guide also shows the upper end of its market reaching approximately $2,250 for the finest listed regular strike grade. These figures are useful, but they should not be interpreted as the value of an ordinary circulated quarter. The same date and mint mark can have a huge range in value. That is the key lesson. If your quarter is worn, think about face value. If it is nicely circulated, look for a modest premium. If it is uncirculated, examine it carefully. If it appears to be MS-67 or MS-68 quality, professional certification may be worth considering. And if it has a genuine double die variety or another significant mint error, it may deserve even more attention. When searching for a double die, pay particular attention to the Wyoming reverse. PCGS identifies two double die reverse varieties, FS801 and FS803, and notes that the doubling can be seen around the saddle horn. PCGS don't rely on blurry photographs or social media claims. Use good lighting and magnification. Compare the suspected feature with a normal example. And remember that true doubled dies are created during the die-making process, while some forms of machine doubling occur during striking and are generally much less desirable to collectors. If you're not sure, professional attribution is the safest choice. The Wyoming quarter is also historically interesting because the reverse design represents one of the state's most famous cultural symbols. The bucking horse and rider have long been associated with Wyoming's identity. The 1890 inscription connects the coin directly to Wyoming statehood. For collectors building the complete 50-state quarters collection, the Wyoming quarter is an essential piece. But the historical importance of the design does not mean every example is rare. The real value comes from the individual coin, condition, grade, variety, error status, strike quality certification, and collector demand. If you're checking a jar of coins, start with the date. Look for 2007, then check the mint mark. Look for separate the P-mint coins from the D-mint coins. Then examine the overall condition. Pull out the coins that have the strongest luster and the fewest marks. After that, study the Wyoming reverse. Look carefully at the horse and rider. Pay attention to the saddle horn and other areas where double die characteristics may appear. If something looks unusual, don't immediately assume you have a rare coin. Compare it with known examples. Then investigate further. Another useful step is to compare your coin's surfaces under magnification. A coin that looks flawless from several inches away can reveal numerous tiny marks under magnification. These tiny marks can be important when determining whether a coin might qualify for a very high grade. This is why the difference between MS65, MS66, MS67, and MS68 can be so significant. The highest grades are not simply about whether the coin looks new. They require exceptional preservation. And when only a small number of examples qualify for those grades, collectors can compete strongly for them. That competition is what can push auction prices far above face value. The 2007 Wyoming quarter is therefore a perfect example of the difference between a common modern coin and a conditionally scarce collectible. Most examples are ordinary, some are nice. A smaller number are very nice, and only a tiny fraction may qualify for the highest grades. That tiny fraction is where the biggest values can occur. So if you have a 2007 Wyoming quarter in good circulated condition, what should you realistically expect? For an ordinary circulated example, around 25 cents is a reasonable starting point, with current NGC information placing circulated examples around 30 to 40 cents depending on the specific condition. NGC, for a better preserved coin, the value can rise. PCGS's current guide shows values increasing through the mint state grades, with much stronger premiums at the highest levels. PCGS, and for an exceptional certified MS68 example, the documented auction record is $2,115. PCGS. The next up top 4 if you have a 2002 Indiana State quarter in your collection, coin jar, or pocket change. Take a close look before you spend it. This quarter may appear to be an ordinary 25-cent coin, but depending on its condition, grade, and whether it has an unusual mint-made error or variety, some examples can be much more interesting to collectors. Today, we're taking a detailed look at the 2002 Indiana State quarter, including its history, design, mint mark, condition, possible errors, and what this coin can realistically be worth in today's collector and auction market. The 2002 Indiana quarter was part of the United States 50-state quarters program. Indiana was the 19th state represented in the series, and the coin carries a design connected to the state's identity and history. On the reverse of the quarter, you will find an outline of Indiana with a race car and a group of stars surrounding the design. The words Indiana, Crossroads of America, and 1816 are also part of the design. The year 1816 represents the year Indiana joined the Union. The The obverse carries the familiar portrait of George Washington. If your quarter has a small P mint mark, that means it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. The 2002 P Indiana quarter had a very large production run, with PCGS listing a mintage of approximately 362.6 million pieces. It is a copper-nickel clad quarter with a reeded edge and a standard weight of about 5.67 grams. This is an important point because the P mint mark alone does not make the coin rare. Millions of 2002 P Indiana quarters were produced, and many entered circulation. So if you have a normal circulated example in good condition, you should not automatically expect hundreds or thousands of dollars. In fact, current market information shows that ordinary circulated examples generally remain close to face value. CoinTrackers estimates an average condition 2002 P Indiana quarter at around 25 cents, while CoinValueApp's current guide places a good condition example at about 25 cents, with values increasing gradually as the grade improves. So if your 2002 P Indiana quarter has been heavily circulated, with visible wear, scratches, contact marks, or other normal signs of use, its realistic value is usually around 25 cents. But this is where coin collecting becomes interesting. The same date and mint mark can produce very different values when the condition changes. Imagine you have two 2002 P Indiana quarters. One has spent years traveling through cash registers, vending machines, pockets, and coin jars. Washington's portrait has noticeable wear, the reverse design is less sharp, and the surfaces contain plenty of marks. The other coin was carefully preserved after leaving the mint. It has bright original surfaces, strong details, minimal contact marks, and almost no evidence of circulation. Both coins are dated 2002, both carry the P mint mark. Both are Indiana state quarters, but collectors can value them very differently. This is why professional coin grading is so important. A coin's grade describes its condition. Circulated coins may fall into grades such as good, very good, fine, very fine, extremely fine, and about uncirculated. Coins that show no circulation where may receive mint state grades such as MS60, MS63, MS65, MS67, MS68, or higher. The higher the grade, the more important small surface imperfections become. A modern quarter can look perfect to the naked eye and still have numerous tiny contact marks when examined under magnification. This is especially important for the 2002 P Indiana quarter, because the highest grade examples can attract collectors. PCGS records a public auction record of $690 for a 2002 P Indiana quarter graded MS69. That coin sold at Heritage Auctions in May 2003. That $690 result is fascinating, but it needs to be understood correctly. It does not mean that every 2002 P Indiana quarter is worth $690. It does not mean a circulated good condition quarter is worth hundreds of dollars. And it certainly does not mean that simply seeing a P mint mark makes the coin rare. The $690 auction result was for an exceptionally high-grade MS69 coin. That is a completely different category from an ordinary circulated quarter. More recent auction data also shows how much prices can vary by grade. PCGS records an MS68 example selling for $15 at Great Collections in September 2011, while an MS67 example sold for $7 through an eBay auction in September 2024. These results demonstrate something extremely important for collectors. The value of a modern state quarter can depend heavily on the exact grade and the individual coin. Current market tracking also shows a substantial difference between circulated and high-grade examples. PriceCharting's recent data lists the 2002 P Indiana quarter around face value in ordinary circulated grades, while its guide rises into the low double digits for some high mint state grades and higher for exceptional grades. So if your coin is in good condition, what should you look for? Start with Washington's portrait. Examine the cheek, jaw, hair, and other raised portions of the design. These areas can show wear first, Then look at the fields around Washington. Are there scratches? Are there numerous contact marks? Does the surface look dull from circulation? Does the coin have dark spots, stains, or discoloration? All of these things can affect collector appeal. Next, turn the coin over and examine the Indiana design. Look carefully at the race car. Check the stars. Look at the outline of Indiana. Examine the lettering. Check the date. And look for anything that appears different from a normal 2002 Indiana quarter. This is where possible errors and varieties can become interesting. But you should be very careful. The internet is full of claims about rare errors that are actually ordinary damage. A scratch is not automatically an error. A dent is not automatically an error. Discoloration is not automatically an error. Machine doubling is not automatically a valuable doubled die. And a strange-looking spot does not necessarily mean the coin was incorrectly struck at the mint. A genuine mint error must be identified by its characteristics, and when the potential value is significant, authenticated by a qualified professional. If your coin appears unusual, use good lighting and magnification. Look at both sides. Inspect the edge. Compare the coin with another normal 2002 Indiana quarter if you have one. A side-by-side comparison can make unusual characteristics much easier to recognize. The edge is also worth checking. The 2002 Indiana quarter normally has a reeded edge. PCGS lists its diameter at approximately 24.3 millimeters and its weight at approximately 5.67 grams. If your coin appears significantly different in size, weight, thickness, or edge appearance, that can be a reason to investigate further. But remember that household measurements are only preliminary. A small difference on an inexpensive scale does not prove that you have a rare error. If the coin appears genuinely unusual, professional authentication is the safest option. Another very important rule is this: do not clean the coin. If you believe your Indiana quarter might be valuable, leave it exactly as you found it. Do not polish it. Do not use chemicals. Do not scrape the surface. Do not try to make it shine. Cleaning can leave permanent hairlines and other damage that may reduce collector value. Original surfaces are extremely important to serious collectors. This is especially true if the coin appears to be in unusually high condition. If you find a 2002 Indiana quarter that looks almost untouched, place it somewhere safe and avoid unnecessary handling. Hold the coin by its edges rather than touching the main surfaces. If the coin appears to have exceptional quality, professional grading may be worth considering. But remember that grading costs money. It would generally make little financial sense to submit a heavily circulated quarter worth around 25 cents for professional grading. The situation changes if you believe you have an exceptionally high-grade example or a genuine mint error. That is when authentication and certification can potentially make sense. Another important point is the difference between an asking price and an actual auction price. You may see someone online asking $500, $1,000, or even more for a 2002 Indiana quarter. That does not prove the coin is worth that amount. A seller can list a coin at any price. Collectors should pay much more attention to completed sales and documented auction results. For example, PCGS provides an actual auction record of $690 for an MS69 2002 Indiana quarter. PCGS also records an MS68 example that sold for $15 and an MS67 example that sold for $7 in the cited auction records. These numbers show why simply saying 2002 Indiana quarter is not enough to determine value. You need to know the condition. You need to know whether it is circulated or uncirculated. You need to know whether it has been professionally certified. You need to know the grade. And you need to know whether it has a legitimate error or variety. Now let's talk specifically about a good condition coin. If your 2002 Indiana quarter has clear circulation, wear, and fits the traditional good condition range, a realistic value is around its face value of 25 cents. Some better circulated examples can bring modest premiums, but you should not expect a large profit from a normal worn coin. The real potential begins when the condition becomes much better. A nearly uncirculated example may be worth more. A clean, attractive uncirculated example can bring a premium. A professionally certified high-grade example can be worth significantly more. And an extraordinary MS-69 example has a documented auction record of 690. This dollar's huge difference is why collectors carefully search old coin collections and rolls. They are not expecting every coin to be rare. They are looking for the exceptional example. The 2002 P. Indiana quarter is a great example of this principle. More than 362 million Philadelphia examples were produced, according to PCGS, so the ordinary coin is not scarce. But finding a coin in an exceptional grade can be much more difficult. That is how a common modern coin can become interesting at the highest grades. The coin also has historical importance as part of the 50-state quarters program. The program encouraged millions of Americans to collect coins, and many people saved one example from every state. Some collectors used folders, others used albums, some kept rolls of quarters, and many people simply put interesting state quarters into jars and boxes. Nearly 2 decades later, those collections are still being discovered. If you have inherited an old coin collection or found a jar of change containing state quarters, the 2002 P. Indiana quarter is worth checking. But don't assume that every state quarter from 1999 through 2008 is valuable. Most are common. The value comes from specific characteristics. For the 2002 P. Indiana quarter, condition is one of the most important characteristics. If you want to examine your coin at home, start with a simple checklist. Confirm that the date says 2002. Confirm that the mint mark is P. Look at Washington's portrait. Check the surfaces for circulation wear. Turn the coin over and examine the Indiana design. Look carefully at the race car and stars. Inspect the lettering. Check the edge. Look for unusual die characteristics. Then compare the coin with trusted photographs and references. If the coin still appears unusual, consider professional authentication. And remember that the coin's value can change depending on market demand. Auction prices are not guaranteed. A coin that sold for hundreds of dollars years ago may not bring the same amount today. Likewise, a coin that sold for a small amount in one auction may bring more in another auction if 2 collectors strongly want it. This is normal in the collectible coin market. The strongest way to estimate value is to look at recent comparable sales involving the same date, mint mark, denomination, and grade. That is much better than using a random internet listing. The 2002 P. Indiana quarter is also an excellent reminder that most valuable does not mean every example is valuable. A normal good condition coin can remain a 25-cent coin. A high-grade certified coin can be worth several dollars or more. And an extraordinary MS-69 example has reached a documented auction price of $690. If you have this quarter in your pocket, don't get too excited just because you see the year 2002 and the P mint mark. Instead, take a closer look. The condition is what matters. The surfaces matter. The strike matters. The grade matters. And any genuine mint error or variety could matter even more. If your coin is heavily circulated, scratched, dirty, or worn, its value is likely close to face value. If it looks fresh and uncirculated, it may deserve additional attention. If it appears almost perfect, especially under magnification, that is when you should consider whether professional grading could be worthwhile. And if you see something that looks like a genuine mint error, don't clean or modify the coin. Protect it and get it professionally examined. The 2002 P. Indiana State Quarter may look like just another 25-cent coin, but the documented auction history shows that exceptional examples can attract serious collector interest. The most important lesson is to learn how condition and rarity affect value. Don't judge a coin only by its age. Don't judge it only by its mint mark. And don't believe every expensive online listing. Look for documented sales, understand the grade, and learn the difference between a normal circulated coin and an exceptional certified example. So the next time you find a 2002 P Indiana quarter in your change, give it a second look. Check Washington. Check the P mint mark. Check the Indiana reverse. Check the race car and stars. Inspect the edge. And most importantly, examine the condition. Because while most 2002 P Indiana quarters are worth only their face value or a small premium, the right high-grade example can be worth considerably more, with a documented PCGS auction record reaching $690 for an MS-69 specimen. That is what makes coin collecting so exciting. Sometimes the most interesting discovery is hiding in an ordinary-looking quarter that has been sitting in your pocket for years. The next up, top 5, you have a 2000D South Carolina state quarter sitting in your pocket change, an old coin jar, or a collection at home. Don't spend it too quickly. This quarter may look like an ordinary 25-cent coin, but depending on its condition, grade, and whether it has a genuine mint error, some examples can be much more interesting to collectors. The 2000D South Carolina state quarter was part of the United States 50 state quarters program. South Carolina was the 8th state represented in the series, and the coin celebrates the history and identity of the Palmetto State. On the reverse, the design includes the state outline, a palmetto tree, the Carolina wren, and the state flower, the yellow jessamine. The inscriptions include South Carolina, 1788, and E pluribus unum. The year 1788 is important because South Carolina became the 8th state to ratify the United States Constitution. On the obverse is the familiar portrait of George Washington. If your quarter has a small D mint mark, it was struck at the Denver Mint. According to PCGS, approximately 566,208,000 regular strike 2000D South Carolina quarters were produced at Denver. The coin measures approximately 24.3 millimeters in diameter, weighs about 5.67 grams, has a reeded edge, and uses the standard copper-nickel clad composition. PCGS, that enormous mintage, is one of the first things you need to understand. The ordinary 2000D South Carolina quarter is not rare simply because it is from 2000 or because it has a D mint mark. Hundreds of millions were produced. Millions entered circulation. Many examples still exist today, so if your coin is in good circulated condition, with visible wear, scratches, contact marks, and signs of everyday use, you should not automatically expect hundreds or thousands of dollars. A normal circulated example is generally close to face value, although some ungraded examples can sell for a modest premium depending on appearance and demand. Recent completed sale listings include ordinary circulated 2000D South Carolina quarters selling around $1 or slightly more, while attractive uncirculated examples can bring a few dollars. Price charting, but this is where the story becomes much more interesting. The same 2000D South Carolina quarter can have dramatically different values depending on its condition and individual characteristics. Imagine that you have two 2000D South Carolina quarters. The first coin has been circulating for years. It has passed through cash registers, vending machines, pockets, coin counters, and jars. Washington's portrait has visible wear, the fields contain scratches and contact marks, and most of the original mint luster is gone. The second coin was carefully preserved after leaving the Denver Mint. It has brilliant original luster, sharp details, clean surfaces, and very few contact marks. Both coins have the same date. Both have the D mint mark. Both show the South Carolina design, but collectors may value those two coins very differently. The reason is condition and grade. Professional grading services use numerical grades to describe a coin's preservation. Circulated coins can receive grades such as good, fine, very fine, extremely fine, and about uncirculated. Coins that have never circulated can receive mint state grades such as MS-60, MS-63, MS-65, MS-66, MS-67, and MS-68. As the grade becomes higher, the number of coins that qualify can become smaller. This is where the 2000D South Carolina quarter becomes particularly interesting. PCGS currently lists an auction record of $2,990 for a 2000D South Carolina quarter. The recorded coin was graded ICG MS63 and sold through Heritage Auctions in September 2003. PCGS plus 1, that is an extraordinary amount for a quarter with a face value of only 25 cents. But there is a very important warning. That $2,990 result does not mean every 2000D South Carolina quarter is worth $2,990. In fact, more recent auction records for ordinary high-grade examples are dramatically lower. PCGS records a 2000D South Carolina quarter, graded MS66 selling for $15 at Great Collections in May 2013. PCGS, another NGC MS66 example, sold for $6 at Great Collections. PCGS, and an NGC MS65 example sold for $12. PCGS Great Collections reports that it has sold 38 examples of the 2000D South Carolina quarter over the past 16 years, with recorded prices ranging from $6 to $101 for coins in grades 65 through 68. Great Collections, this is an important lesson. You cannot take the highest auction record and assume that it represents the current value of every coin. The exact coin, certification, grade, variety, error, auction date, and buyer demand all matter. Now let's focus on the good condition 2000D South Carolina quarter. If your coin is clearly circulated with visible wear, it will generally be worth around face value or a small premium. If your coin is a nicer circulated example, you might see a little more collector interest. If it is uncirculated, the value can increase. If it is professionally certified at a high grade, the value can increase further. And if it has a genuine mint error, the situation can change dramatically. Recent market information lists ordinary ungraded examples around the dollar range, while high-grade examples can be worth substantially more. Price charting. So the first thing you should do is examine the coin carefully. Start with George Washington on the obverse. Look at his cheek. Examine his jawline, check his hair. Look at the highest points of the portrait. If these areas show smooth wear, the coin has circulated. Then examine the fields around Washington. Look for scratches. Look for contact marks. Look for dents. Look for stains. Look for discoloration. And check whether the coin still has original mint luster. If your quarter is bright and shiny, don't automatically assume it is uncirculated. Some coins have been cleaned or polished. A cleaned coin can actually be less desirable to collectors than an original coin with natural surfaces. So never polish a potentially valuable quarter. Don't scrub it. Don't use chemicals. Don't use metal cleaner. Don't scrape it. Don't attempt to remove stains. Cleaning can leave permanent hairlines and other surface damage. If you think you have a valuable coin, preserve it exactly as you found it. Now turn the coin over and study the South Carolina reverse. Look at the Palmetto Tree. Examine the Carolina Wren. Look at the yellow Jessamine. Check the outline of South Carolina. Inspect the lettering. Look at the date 1788, then examine the rim and edge. A side-by-side comparison with another normal 2000D South Carolina quarter can be extremely useful. Sometimes a feature that looks unusual on its own becomes much easier to understand when compared with a normal example. The next thing to investigate is the possibility of a mint error. Modern state quarters can have a variety of genuine mint errors. These can include off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, die chips, struck-through errors, clips, missing clad layers, and unusual planchet errors. The 2000D South Carolina quarter has actually appeared in the market with several interesting errors. For example, Graysheet's auction records include a 2000D South Carolina quarter with an obverse missing clad layer, graded MS63, that sold for $104 in September 2024. Graysheet, another example with an obverse missing clad layer, graded MS64 PCGS, sold for $144 in August 2017. Graysheet there are also documented examples of South Carolina quarters with clips and other mint errors. A double curved clip example, graded MS66 NGC sold for $63 in July 2021, while a clipped MS64 ANACS example sold for $49 in April 2021. Graysheet there are even records of a broadstruck example selling for $26 and a PCGS MS63 uncentered broadstrike selling for $29. Graysheet these examples show why looking carefully at your quarter can be worthwhile. But there is a very important distinction. A genuine mint error is not the same as damage. A scratch is not automatically a mint error. A dent is not automatically a mint error. A flattened rim is not automatically a mint error. And a strange color does not automatically mean a missing clad layer. The unusual characteristic needs to have been created during the minting process. If the damage occurred after the coin left the mint, it generally does not have the same collector value. This is why authentication is important. If your 2000D South Carolina quarter appears to have a major error, don't clean it, don't alter it, and don't try to repair it. Protect it and have it examined by a qualified professional. Another especially interesting error category is the missing clad layer. A normal clad quarter has an outer copper-nickel layer over a copper core. If a clad layer is missing, the coin can have a dramatically different appearance. It may look more copper-colored on the affected side. But again, color alone is not enough. Environmental exposure and chemical damage can sometimes make a normal quarter look unusual. A genuine missing clad layer error should be confirmed by an experienced professional or recognized grading service. One of the most important things to understand about this coin is the difference between an ordinary circulated quarter and an exceptional mint error. An ordinary good condition 2000D South Carolina quarter might be worth around its face value. A high-grade certified coin may be worth several dollars or more. A documented mint error can be worth tens or even more than $100, and an extraordinary historical auction result can be dramatically higher. That is why you should always identify the exact characteristics of your coin before assigning a value. Let's talk more about professional grading. If your quarter is worn and clearly circulated, professional grading is usually not economical. The cost of grading can be higher than the coin's actual value. But if your quarter looks almost untouched, has exceptional surfaces, or has a possible mint error, professional certification can make more sense. A certified grade gives buyers a standardized description of condition. For example, an MS66 coin is not simply a coin that someone personally calls very nice. It has been examined and assigned a recognized grade. This makes it easier for collectors to compare it with other examples. But remember that certification alone doesn't guarantee a huge value. The grade matters. The specific coin matters. The market matters. The next up, top 6. If you have a 2005D Kansas State quarter in your pocket change, an old coin collection, or a jar of quarters at home, take a close look before spending it. This quarter may look like an ordinary 25-cent coin, but certain examples can be worth considerably more when they have exceptional condition, a high certified grade, or a genuine mint error. Today, we are taking a detailed look at the 2005D Kansas State quarter, including its history, design, Denver mint mark, good condition value, possible errors, high-grade examples, and what this coin can realistically be worth in today's collector and auction market. The 2005 Kansas quarter was part of the United States 50 State Quarters program. Kansas was represented during the 2005 releases, and the reverse of the coin features the state's famous American bison along with a sunflower, one of the symbols associated with Kansas. The obverse carries the familiar portrait of George Washington. If your coin has a small D mint mark, that letter identifies the Denver Mint as the facility where the quarter was struck. The 2005 D Kansas quarter had a mintage of approximately 300 million pieces. PCGS lists the coin as a copper-nickel clad quarter with a reeded edge, a diameter of about 24.3 millimeters, and a standard weight of approximately 5.67 grams. That large production number is very important. It means that an ordinary 2005 D Kansas quarter is not automatically rare just because it has a D mint mark. Millions of examples entered circulation, and many can still be found today. So if your coin is in good circulated condition, with obvious wear, scratches, contact marks, and other signs of everyday use, you should have realistic expectations. NGC's current information places circulated 2005 D Kansas state quarters around 30 to 40 cents, while better preserved uncirculated examples can be worth substantially more. In other words, a normal worn quarter is generally close to its face value, but this is where the story gets interesting. Not every 2005 D Kansas quarter is equal. Two coins can have the exact same date and mint mark and still have dramatically different values. Imagine one Kansas quarter that has spent years traveling through cash registers, vending machines, pockets, and coin jars. The surfaces are scratched, the high points are worn, and the original luster has disappeared. Now imagine another 2005 D Kansas quarter that was carefully preserved after leaving the mint. It has sharp details, strong original luster, very few contact marks, and almost no circulation wear. Both coins are dated 2005, both have the D mint mark, both show the Kansas bison and sunflower, but collectors may value them very differently. That difference is primarily caused by condition and grade. Professional grading services assign grades to coins based on their preservation. Circulated coins can fall into grades such as good, fine, very fine, extremely fine, and about uncirculated. Coins without circulation where can receive mint state grades such as MS60, MS63, MS65, MS66, MS67, and MS68. The higher the grade, the more difficult it can become to find another coin with the same level of preservation. For the 2005 D Kansas quarter, exceptional grades can attract much more collector attention. PCGS reports an auction record of $288 for a 2005 D Kansas quarter graded MS68. That coin sold at Heritage Auctions on November 25, 2007. That $288 auction result sounds impressive for a coin with a face value of only 25 cents. But there is a very important distinction. That does not mean every 2005 D Kansas quarter is worth $288. It does not mean a good condition circulated quarter is worth hundreds of dollars. And it does not mean the D mint mark automatically makes the coin rare. The $288 result belongs to a specific, professionally graded MS68 example. A circulated coin is an entirely different situation. Recent auction records also show that high-grade examples can sell for considerably less depending on the grade and the individual auction. Great Collections reports 15 sales of the 2005 D Kansas State Quarter over the past 16 years, with prices ranging from $6 to $84.38 across grades from 50 to 69. This is an excellent reminder that auction values can vary. The grade matters. The certification matters. The appearance of the individual coin matters. The timing of the auction matters. And collector demand matters. So if you have a 2005 D Kansas quarter in good condition, what should you do first? Don't assume you have a rare coin. Instead, examine it carefully. Start with Washington's portrait on the obverse. Look at the cheek, jaw, hair, and other raised areas. These are the areas where circulation wear can become visible. If the details are noticeably smooth or worn, the coin has probably experienced significant circulation. Next, examine the fields around Washington. Look for scratches. Look for contact marks. Look for discoloration. Look for dents. Look for evidence that the coin has been cleaned. All of these things can affect collector value. Then turn the coin over and examine the Kansas design. The bison is the main feature to inspect. Look carefully around the bison's body, head, horns, and other details. Also examine the sunflower. Check the lettering. Look at the rim. Look at the date and other inscriptions. And compare your coin with another normal 2005 D Kansas quarter if you have one. A side-by-side comparison can make unusual features much easier to identify. The Kansas quarter has also become famous among error collectors because of unusual die varieties and mint errors. One variety commonly discussed by collectors involves a die break or die characteristic near the bison, sometimes called the spitting bison variety. There are also other reported Kansas quarter errors involving missing or weak lettering, die cracks, doubled features, struck-through errors, and other abnormalities. However, this is where you need to be very careful. Not every strange-looking Kansas quarter is valuable. A scratch is not automatically a mint error. A dent is not automatically a mint error. A stain is not automatically a mint error. A weak-looking letter may be caused by wear or strike characteristics, and a damaged coin can sometimes look very similar to an actual mint error. If you think your coin has an error, compare it carefully with trusted numismatic references, and for potentially valuable pieces, consider professional authentication. Some online listings advertise 2005 D Kansas quarter errors for substantial amounts, but an asking price is not proof of value. For example, current online listings include various Kansas error claims at prices ranging from a few dollars to much higher amounts. Those listings should be treated as asking prices unless there is a documented completed sale. This distinction is extremely important for anyone making YouTube videos or researching coin values. A seller can ask $5,000 for a coin. That does not mean the coin is worth $5,000. The strongest evidence comes from actual completed auction sales involving comparable coins. That is why documented auction records from major grading and auction services are much more useful. If your Kansas quarter is only in good circulated condition, the realistic value is usually close to face value. But if it is uncirculated, the situation becomes more interesting. A nice uncirculated example can have a premium. A professionally graded MS-65 can have a stronger collector market. An MS-67 can be worth substantially more. And an MS-68 example can reach significantly higher prices, as shown by the documented $288 PCGS auction record. The difference between these grades may not be obvious to someone who is new to coin collecting. A quarter can look perfect from several feet away, but have numerous tiny contact marks when viewed under magnification. Modern coins often acquire small marks while moving through mint bags, counting machines, rolls, and storage containers. That means even an uncirculated coin may not qualify for an extremely high grade. This is why professional grading becomes important when the potential value is significant. If you believe you have an exceptional 2005 D Kansas quarter, you can consider submitting it to a recognized grading service. But don't rush to send every quarter for grading. If your coin is heavily worn and worth around face value, the grading cost could be far greater than the coin's value. Professional grading makes more sense when the coin appears to be in exceptional condition or has a potentially valuable mint error. Another extremely important rule is never to clean a potentially valuable coin. If you find a Kansas quarter that looks dirty, don't polish it. Don't use chemicals. Don't scrub it. Don't scrape it. Don't try to make it shine. Cleaning can leave permanent hairlines and other surface damage. Original surfaces are important to collectors, particularly for high-grade coins. If you think you have something valuable, preserve the coin exactly as you found it. Hold it by the edges. Keep it away from harsh chemicals, and store it in a suitable coin holder. Now let's talk about the Philadelphia version, because some collectors may encounter confusion about the mint mark. The 2005 Kansas quarter was produced at both Philadelphia and Denver. PCGS lists approximately 263.4 million 2005 P Kansas quarters and 300 million 2005 D Kansas quarters. So if your quarter has a P mint mark, it is the Philadelphia version. If it has a D, it is the Denver version. The two coins can have different market values depending on grade and rarity. For example, PCGS records a $43 sale for a 2005 P Kansas quarter, graded MS67 at Great Collections. That again demonstrates why the mint mark alone does not determine value. The exact grade and individual coin are extremely important. For your 2005 D Kansas quarter, the first thing you should establish is whether it is circulated or uncirculated. If it is worn, scratched, and clearly circulated, you are probably looking at a coin worth around face value or a small premium. If it looks bright and untouched, then it deserves a closer inspection. Look at the luster, look at the fields, look at the high points, look for contact marks, look at the bison. Then consider whether the coin might qualify for a high mint state grade. You can also weigh the coin as a basic screening step. PCGS lists the normal specifications at approximately 5.67 grams and 24.3 millimeters in diameter. If your coin has a dramatically different weight or physical appearance, that could be a reason to investigate further. But a small difference on a household scale does not prove that you have an error. Professional examination is necessary before claiming that a coin has a rare planchet or mint error. Another interesting feature of the Kansas quarter is the bison design. The bison has become one of the most recognizable images in the state quarter series. Because collectors are familiar with this design, unusual die characteristics around the bison can attract attention. But again, you should never identify an error solely because someone on social media says a particular mark is rare. Compare the feature with known examples. Determine whether it is raised or in cues. Determine whether it is part of the die or damage to the coin. And, when necessary, get professional attribution. This is especially important if you believe the coin could be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. Now let's return to the question of value. If your 2005 D Kansas state quarter is in good circulated condition, a reasonable expectation is around 25 cents to perhaps a small premium, depending on the exact condition and market. NGC currently gives circulated 2005 D Kansas quarters a general range of about 30 to 40 cents. If your coin is uncirculated, values can rise. NGC notes that uncirculated examples can sell for substantially more, with its current information indicating prices as high as approximately $350 for certain examples. But remember that up to does not mean every uncirculated coin is worth $350. The dollars grade and certification are critical. An MS63 coin is not the same as an MS67. An MS67 is not the same as an MS68. And an MS68 coin is not the same as an error coin. This is why you should always identify the exact characteristics of your coin before assigning a price. The 2005 D Kansas quarter also provides a great lesson about modern coin collecting. People sometimes assume that a coin must be 100 years old to be valuable. That is not true. Modern coins can become valuable when they are extremely well preserved or contain a genuine mint error. The 2005 D Kansas quarter is only about 21 years old in 2026, yet an exceptional MS68 example has already produced a documented auction result of 288 that does not make the entire issue rare. Instead, it shows that high-grade modern coins can have a collector market. If you have a jar filled with state quarters, you don't need to assume every coin is valuable. Instead, search intelligently. Pull out the coins with the best surfaces. Separate heavily circulated coins from uncirculated-looking coins. Check the mint marks, look for unusual characteristics, and pay particular attention to coins that appear to have minimal contact marks. If you find a 2005 D Kansas quarter that looks much better than the others, don't spend it immediately. Put it aside. Examine it under good lighting. Use magnification. Compare it with reliable references. And if it still appears exceptional, consider professional grading. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is focusing entirely on the highest price they see online. If you search for 2005 Kansas quarter value, you may see extremely high numbers, but some of those numbers are seller asking prices, not completed sales. A better approach is to look at documented auction results. PCGS records a $288 auction record for an MS-68 2005D Kansas quarter. Great Collections reports sales from $6 to $84.38 across its recorded 2005D Kansas quarter sales. Those numbers provide a much more realistic picture of the market. The ordinary coin is common. The high-grade coin is more interesting. The exceptional coin is scarce. And the genuine error coin can be a completely different category. So if your coin is simply in good condition, don't expect the highest auction record. Your quarter is most likely worth close to face value. But that doesn't mean you should ignore it. Coin collecting is about finding the exceptions, the coin with an unusual strike, the coin with an authentic die variety, the coin with an extraordinary grade, the coin that somehow survived decades with almost no contact marks. Those are the coins that can become much more valuable. If you want to inspect your 2005D Kansas quarter at home, start with the date. Make sure it says 2005, then find the D mint mark. Next, examine Washington's portrait. Look for wear. Then turn the coin over and study the Kansas bison and sunflower. Look for unusual raised areas, cracks, chips, doubling, or missing design elements. Check the rim, check the edge, and compare the coin with a normal example. If you find something that looks like a genuine error, do not clean it. Protect it and seek professional advice. And if your coin is in exceptional condition, remember that certification can make a major difference when selling a high-value coin. A certified MS-68 example has a documented auction record of $288, while more ordinary high-grade examples have sold for much less. This wide range is exactly why the phrase 2005D Kansas quarter value does not have one single answer. The value depends on the coin in front of you. If it is circulated, the value is usually near face value. If it is uncirculated, it may be worth more. If it is high grade, the value can rise considerably. If it is a genuine mint error, the market can be completely different. And if it is an exceptional certified example, documented auction records show that prices can reach hundreds of dollars. So before spending your 2005D Kansas state quarter, take a second look. Check the D mint mark. Look at Washington. Study the bison. Inspect the surfaces. Check the edge. And look for anything that makes the coin different from a normal quarter. Most 2005D Kansas quarters will not make you rich.